I'm here with Brandon from the PropStore auction, and they're doing everything from TV, movies, film, you name it, they have props for it. And so we're here talking about the over 1,400 items that you guys have up for auction this June 28th to 30th. You can come in person for the first day, and then online and over the phone, and I believe, is there a mail option or something like that for the other ones I read in the pamphlet?
There's a couple of different ways to bid. You can bid live in person on the first day of the auction, June 28th, and then on the second and third days of the auction, all the bidding activity is taking place online. But you can also bid by telephone or what we call written absentee bid, which is basically where you fill out your bid form, you place your maximum bid amounts on the paper form, you get that into us before the auction, and then someone on the auction staff is executing those bids on your behalf during the sale. And they're only executed to the level needed to beat other bidders, meaning it's not going to just jump straight to your maximum. It's going to be executed incrementally, as I say, in order to beat any other bidders who are participating.
Cool. So we'll just walk around and talk about some of the stuff that you guys have here. So you mentioned before that all of these are verified. They go through a vetting process. Can you sort of go into that process a little bit, just to keep people spending all their hard-earned money on these props, knowing that they are real and from the movies and stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, authenticity is a very big part of what we do here at PropStore. The business was founded in 1998, so we have a lot of experience working with this content, with this material, and everything that comes through the door goes through a comprehensive research and analysis and ultimately verification process. And then when we sell the item, we do issue it with we do sell it with our PropStore certificate of authenticity, which is considered the gold standard within the prop and costume collecting industry. And it is a COA that carries with it a money-back guarantee, which means if the item is ever found to not be what it was sold as, then we will refund the original purchase price of the item. And all the details of that guarantee are in the auction catalog. But essentially for us, the vetting process involves looking at the provenance of the item, which is the chain of ownership, looking at the piece compared to the film or television show itself. It's important to realize that there are frequently multiple examples of a given prop or costume within a production, right? It's rare that they just have one of anything. And so for that reason, for example, you may have hero props, which is like a heavyweight metal version intended for close-ups. You may have stunt props, which could be something like a rubber sword or maybe a special effects retractable sword that's intended for very specific shots within an action sequence. There's a lot of different ways that a film prop can be constructed to be utilized for a given purpose during the production. And so, we have a lot of experience handling props from different eras, props that have been built in different parts of the world, built by different companies. We have a lot of contacts within the production world and production industry. So, in some cases, we're reaching out to costume designers and prop masters directly to ask them questions about pieces. In other cases, things are coming directly from first-line sources. For example, the baseball glove that we have from Field of Dreams, which is Kevin Costner's glove from the end scene of the film, the famous scene where he asks his dad if he wants to have a catch. That came directly from the property master on the film. It was actually his personal high school baseball glove.
Oh, wow.
that got pressed into service as Kevin Costner's glove on the day of filming. It also screen matches. So screen matching is part of a process as well. Not all props and costumes can be screen matched, but some can, like the Field of Dreams glove. And when I say screen match, that basically means there's a unique tell on the piece, something like a fold or crease in the leather, or the way some of the laces on the leather have been twirled up, something like that you can see that is really unique. The bowling ball that's sitting next to it there would be another good example. Obviously that bowling ball, this is a lightweight stunt, it's not a real bowling ball. This has been hand painted by somebody, and when you look at the film, you can see the paint work matches up exactly, every bit of it, every tiny nuance and detail of it. And it would be almost impossible for somebody to paint two bowling balls exactly the same way. Here.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so that's a lightweight stunt version. And so I think we have about 100 pieces in this auction that are screen matched, and they're labeled in the title as screen match. You can go to the online auction catalog, and there's a filter that you can use to look at the screen match item specifically. For example, I know the Maximus armor there, Russell Crowe's from Gladiator, that's a screen match piece. The costume from Shawshank Redemption is screen matched. The Blade Runner costume is screen matched. The Ralph Macchio gi from Karate Kid Part 2 is screen matched. A lot of the items here are screen matched, which means you can place them definitively on film. You know that they are the one, at least the one being used in that particular shot.
So I know a lot of these look absolutely beautiful. They look like they just were made yesterday, and some of them might have been. But do you guys go through like a restoration process, or do you, if you get an item, it's just you get it in the condition that you get it in, and you don't really try to mess with it besides cleaning it up a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. Occasionally we do go through a restoration process. It really depends on what the items are. Frequently things that are made out of foam latex, which is the material that like the Gremlins are made out of, for example, or the skins, like the heads, the faces of the Team America puppets. Those are all foam latex. That material can break down over time, and there are guys who specialize in restoring that material, patching it back together, and then sealing it so it basically looks as it should. It's a fine line when you talk about restoration as to how much you want to do before it becomes too much, because you don't want to alter the artifact too far from how it was when it appeared on camera. But in some cases, simply from an aesthetic perspective, if you're going to have a high-end collectible on display, say in your home or your home office, you don't want it to look like it's falling apart necessarily. So pieces like these Gremlins, the Team America puppets that I called out, I know each of those has had some level of restoration and stabilization work performed on it, which will also help it to be preserved for the future.
Okay, so I know the original Freddy Krueger glove from Nightmare on Elm Street somehow disappeared, ended up on the set of Evil Dead 2. What movie is this glove from?
I believe this is from Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare.
Okay.
And this one screen matches. So I was just talking about screen matching. When you look at the weld marks on the back of the plate there, you can see those weld marks exactly like that on camera. It's been, that's work that's been applied by hand. It is a unique organic shape. If you tried to replicate that, you wouldn't be able to do it exactly. So we are highly confident that is a screen match piece, meaning it's the exact one you're seeing in that shot. Obviously, there's a bunch of Freddy gloves out there in total. They made a lot of Nightmare films. Yeah. They probably had at least a couple of gloves for each film. I would guess they had more gloves as the series went on, meaning in the early days, lower budget, it's not as big of a thing. They may have had very few examples, but as time progresses, the franchise has some momentum, the budgets are larger, they're able to make more props. So in total, you do have a number out there. And you'll also see different special effects versions of those. I know I've seen retractable versions, meaning the blades are spring-loaded, so they kind of collapse, like for a stabbing shot. And I may have seen what they call bloodletting versions, where they basically run like a vinyl tube underneath the blade that they can pump stage blood through, so they can do kind of a scratch shot where it bloodies up the victim.
Like those ghost face masks at Halloween stores with the little pump.
Exactly. Slightly more sophisticated version of that.
So we have some stuff from the 2016 Ghostbusters movie here.
Yeah, that's right. The Proton Pack is from the 2016 film. We do also have a collection of content from the original Ghostbusters, the 1984 movie, like the prototype Stay Puft's head here, and then Stay Puft's red bow tie. These are both from the original film. Wow. Which is really cool. Yeah.
And then we've got some more costumes. We've got Princess Leia's dress from A New Hope, and we've got a Harry Potter outfit. And what movie is this one from?
That is the second film, which is the Chamber of Secrets. Secrets. The Leia dress is really the star of the show, certainly one of the stars of the show. This is just an amazing piece of Star Wars history. It was believed to be lost for many, many years. It surfaced in a London attic about 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
When we first became aware of it, we got some photos of it. We were able to study the photos, and we were able to see very small, unique tells, like in the folds of the leather here on the belt, that matched exactly to photos of Carrie Fisher shot in 1976. So we knew this was the exact dress, which is pretty fantastic. They actually just gave Carrie Fisher a star on the Walk of Fame a couple of weeks ago in Hollywood. And the photos that they had on display of Carrie Fisher at that event were her in this dress from Star Wars, which is pretty cool.
Hoping to authenticate it.
Yeah.
And then we've got some of the Batman 89. Yeah, Batman 89.
Actually, this is 92.
This is 92,
This is Batman Returns. We do have a Batman 89 suit in the auction as well, and I believe a couple of other pieces from the first Batman film. Obviously, Batman is in the media right now because The Flash comes out this week. Everybody's excited. I'm looking forward to seeing that one. I'm a big Michael Keaton Batman fan, but that's a great example of his suit from the second film. It's in really nice condition. The cape especially is the piece that I love. The capes are made from a heavy latex that's backed with fabric on the interior. And this is one of the best conditioned capes that I've ever seen. You know, the bat suits, they suffer sometimes from some of the same issues, the deterioration of the foam latex and such, similar to the Gremlin puppets that I was referencing. This one has had some restoration work performed, especially on the cowl, but the cape has held up really well. It's nice and soft and supple, like it just left the set yesterday.
Wow. And then we've got some Star Wars, some Back to the Future, the Matrix kind of stuff here, some matte paintings. And so was this Death Star trench used on the film, or was it just to sort of storyboard or show off what the scene would look like?
No, this is a film used item. So the Death Star trench painting, basically they had a 3D model of the trench, if you can imagine, kind of like a U-shaped channel. And then at the end of it, they had to cap it. They had to put something, right? It was only so long, but it needs to look like it's going into infinity. So this flat painting sits at the end of the three-dimensional trench model, and it makes it look like it goes on forever. It's a forced perspective thing. And so that is a filmed on piece that was used on camera. You know, there's some other great Star Wars lots in the auction. This right here, this is part of an X-Wing fighter model from the very first film. You can see the burn marks on it. So this is one of the pyro models that they exploded, you know, when they're being shot by the TIE fighters and such. We have maybe the most interesting rock in the world. This is one of the asteroids from the asteroid chase in Empire Strikes Back. It's just carved out of very lightweight foam, but that's a really cool one. A Rebel Trooper blaster, C-3PO foot, Death Star gun tower, and some great lightsabers from the prequel films. You know, this is Obi-Wan's from Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. That's what we would call a hero lightweight version of the lightsaber, probably intended to be worn on the belt, like when he's just walking around. Whereas something like this back here with the green blade, that's from the third film, Revenge of the Sith, and that's what we would call a dueling lightsaber. That's what they're actually fighting with on set. And then, of course, the blades are put in with CGI later.
Very cool. And then we finally have the Bicentennial Man, obviously Robin Williams from the movie. I haven't seen this movie in such a long time. This is the actual costume, right? This isn't just like a model for shooting?
Yeah, no, this is a costume. You know, the things like the shoulders have ball bearings in them to make the whole thing practical, to make it so that someone can move around in it. If you remember in the film, he becomes more lifelike as the movie progresses. So this is an early version of the head when it didn't have much movement or articulation in it. One of the things I find really interesting about this is the eyes. If you look at them closely, there's like a really fine mesh in there.
Oh, yeah.
So you can tell it's intended for the actor to see through. And it's just a really cool, you know, it's kind of like when you look at a C-3PO costume, and just the fact that they're able to take somebody and put them inside of this hard, rigid suit that you wouldn't think you could walk around in, and they're able to engineer all these joints in the shoulders, the elbows, the knees, etc., so that somebody can move around in it. It's really impressive, you know. And I think the Bicentennial Man is a great design as well, just a great visual.
It's definitely a very cool, striking looking piece, especially right when you walk into the gallery here.
Yeah.
So for stuff that's not pictured here in the gallery or whatever, like I know that there's a Batmobile that's not on site, that's off, I believe, where you guys are auctioning the stuff off.
The Bat Pod.
The Bat Pod, pardon me.
Yeah, which is the motorcycle from The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. Yeah, that's another big highlight of the auction. That's actually currently situated at the Peterson Automotive Museum, which is where we're holding the live auction, but it will be available to be seen there on the day of the sale. Yeah, to your question about the rest of the content, I mean, it is just a small sample that we've looked at here today. So if people go online to the online version of the auction catalog, you can see everything in its entirety, and each and every piece has got a comprehensive photo set, which includes 5, 6, sometimes more images of the piece, showing it from all different angles, as well as screen captures for reference that will show you where that piece or that type of piece was used in the film, and a comprehensive written description as well. So there is a lot of information in the online catalog. We do have physical catalogs as well, actual printed books, and those are for sale on our website, PropStore.com. But the online auction catalog actually provides more information on the lots than anywhere else.
Very cool. And so what are some of the things that you guys are expecting to be the more popular sort of, I guess, higher ticket items that people might be spending the most on?
Well, as far as the pre-sale estimates, the highest price items in the auction are the Princess Leia dress, which is the ceremonial dress from the end scene of the film, and the bat pod that was used in both the second Christian Bale film and the third Christian Bale film. The pre-sale estimate on each one of those is $1 million to $2 million.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, some larger price tags on those. Those are both of them just absolute treasures, pieces of film history. And that's where those estimates are coming from. But there's a lot of content here that's had either has already had early bidding activity on it or has just had a lot of inquiries, a lot of people asking questions. The Blade Runner costume got a lot of attention. That's considered to be one of the staple sci-fi films of all time. So anything Blade Runner always attracts a crowd. Gladiator, the Maximus armor is a really nice example. It's screen matched, absolutely worn by Russell Crowe. That movie was the best picture in the year 2000. They're working on a sequel for it right now. So Gladiator always gets a lot of attention. Indiana Jones, the Raiders pistol, and some of the other Indiana Jones pieces that we have as well. Obviously, it's very topical right now because Indy 5 is coming in the next few weeks here. So those items have had a lot of attention. Another collection actually that's had a lot of interest is we have a spread of items from Sam Neill, the actor who played Alan Grant in the Jurassic Park films. We actually have his boots from the first movie, and then we have a lot of costume components from the most recent Jurassic. And he's consigned all of those directly to benefit UNICEF, children's charity, which is very kind of him. And there's been a lot of interest in that from the Jurassic crowd. I think just a couple of days ago was the 30th anniversary of the first Jurassic Park film. Yeah. So, we're very happy to have that collection as well and looking forward to seeing what that goes for.
So just to close out here, I know you're very knowledgeable about all of these. Is there anything that comes in? I know you mentioned you sort of lit up when you were talking about the Princess Leia dress. Is there anything that comes in, like, are you guys jaded at this point with stuff that comes in, or does stuff come in that surprises you, that makes you guys nerd out still? Or
No, not jaded. No, I mean, for us, many people who work here, including myself, we got our start as collectors. I'm a collector myself. I love all this content. I'm a fan of this whole part of the production process. That's why I do what I do. So for me, the most interesting thing with every auction is just seeing what's going to surface this time. What's going to walk through the door? What are we going to be able to go out and find? What is going to be the new discovery that we have not had in the past? There's some things that look, there's multiple examples, and we have sold other examples of in the past. For example, the Wolverine claws. This is not the first pair of Wolverine claws that we've sold. It's always cool to see them, great to see them, but what really gets me excited is something that we haven't seen before, like the Princess Leia dress, like that particular Maximus armor, or say the Prometheus costume that's standing here, the Ralph Macchio Karate Kid piece. Those films have a lot of renewed interest because of the Cobra Kai series. So they're fantastic. The Poltergeist clown, I don't think we talked about that one yet.
Yeah.
But I mean, that is the screen-meshed Poltergeist clown that Robbie, the kid in the film, is wrestling with. And it's a one-off. The head is made out of plaster. There's actually cracks in it because the kid was aggressive with it on set and it smashed into the floor. They had to do on-set repairs.
Oh boy.
That hasn't been seen for 40 years. It's been in one collection ever since the film was made. So for something like that to surface, that's really the fun of it for us. Part of what we do is treasure hunting and archaeology.
Yeah, that's what I was going to compare it to.
Just learning about the production process through these items, and really connecting with the movies that we love as a result of it, and that's kind of what it's all about for us. That's what we have fun with, and that's what keeps us going for the future, what we're looking forward to each and every time.
Well, very cool. Thank you to Brandon and PropStore for having us here to look at all of these movie treasures, and make sure to check out the auction on June 28th to the 30th. You can go in person or online, and thank you guys for having us.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.